Hi everyone! Today we're gonna create a Super Mario game, which is basically a scrolling platformer. It's going to be based on two tutorials that I have already done. One is the platformer game, and the other one is the scrolling timeline, which are already in my channel. Making this game takes a long time, so today we're only going to create the movement of Mario, the scrolling of the platform, and the collisions with the different walls. And only those things is gonna make a very long tutorial. So if you're ready, let's get started. To make things easier, I've already made the hitbox and Mario with a few costumes. Walk 1, 2, and 3, stand, jump, and die. I'm going to leave a link to this blank project with only the sprites in the description of the video. And to import that onto your project, you can use the backpack. If you don't know how to use the backpack, I'm going to leave a tutorial in the description of the video on how to use it. So let's begin working. I'm going to hide Mario for the moment, and we're going to use the hitbox. We're going to start creating the gravity. So we're gonna make a variable, and this variable is gonna be the Y velocity, so the vertical velocity. And going to my blocks, we're gonna make a block called gravity. All the blocks that we create in my blocks category must run without screen refresh. So this is extremely important if you want your game to work properly. What is gravity going to do? Well, basically, we're gonna take an if-else block, and before making gravity, let's make the ground. So let's paint a new sprite, and with this color, for example, which will represent the grass, let's make a few platforms here. And this sprite, which is gonna be called ground, let's send it to 0, 0. The hitbox could start here, that's okay. Maybe this one a little bit lower. Okay. So let's go back to the hitbox, to the code, and if our hitbox, if our character basically, is touching color this green, and to pick this green, you use this tool here, the Y velocity is gonna be 0. So we're gonna set Y velocity to 0. Else, if it's not touching that, so if it is in the air, we're gonna change Y velocity by a negative number, for example, -1, because we want the object to move down. And to show you how that works, we're gonna make here the beginning of this simple program, and forever, well, before the forever, let's set Y velocity to 0 and place the hitbox there, for example. And forever, as I was saying, we're going to change Y, so change the vertical position of my object by the Y velocity, and we're going to apply gravity. And by clicking on the green flag, as you see, it works pretty well. Let's start from a higher position. But as you see, sometimes it penetrates the grass, which is not something we're interested in. So now it's the moment to create another block, which is called replace Y when we are going down. And again, we will run without screen refresh. Basically, everything I'm explaining here is better explained in a more detailed way in the platformer game tutorial. And everything related to the scrolling effect is explained in the scrolling timeline tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to try to explain everything little by little, but not as slowly as in the other tutorials, because, if you need a further explanation, you can go there, okay? So, replace Y down basically is going to do the following. We are going to change Y by 1. So we're going to move up, and we're going to repeat this until we are not touching that color. Until we are not touching this color. And after that, we are going to change Y by -1 to touch this color again. Why? Because when jumping, we have to be touching the ground so that jumping is possible. And this replace Y down is gonna be right after gravity. And now, as you see, no matter where we start, it stops here. Okay, so let's put the initial Y we had before, which was, well, around 30. And now let's make the jumping. So jumping is gonna be quite simple. If key, I'm gonna jump with the up arrow key, but well, that's up to you. If key up arrow pressed, we're going to set Y velocity to 13, for example. And as you see, we can jump, but there's a problem. If I press several times, I have double jump, triple jump, which is something I'm not interested in, at least in this project. So I only want to jump when I'm touching the grass. So let's add this condition here. If key up arrow pressed and touching this color, we can jump. And now I can only jump once, no matter how many times I press up arrow. And having this ready, we can start creating the scrolling effect and also the collisions. To make the collisions, first of all, we have to go to the ground, and we're going to draw some lines here which will have a different green color. So let's pick a different green and let's make some lines. I'm using rectangles, that's the best idea. And these rectangles have to stick out to the right a little bit, but they don't have to be as high as the platform. Same here. Same on this side. Same here. And here. And here. Alright, so now let's see. Let's go back to the hitbox and we're going to define the scrolling effect. For example, scroll right, running without screen refresh, and scrolling right is going to be as follows. Our hitbox is going to move to the right to check if everything is empty, if everything is clear. So we're going to change X, because it's horizontal position, by 8, for example. And in the case it is not touching this green, so in case everything is clear, so if not touching this color, we're going to modify a variable that I'm going to create right now, which is going to be X. We're going to change X by, and now something important to keep in mind. In this type of platformers, our character does not move left or right. It is the ground, it is the platform which scrolls left or right. So if I want my Mario to move right, the platform has to move left. Moving left is reducing the value of X. So we're going to change X by -8. And now that Mario has checked if this is clear or not, no matter if it is clear or not, we're going to change X by -8 so that Mario stays in the same position it was before. Everything is run without screen refresh, so we're not going to see Mario doing this and this, okay, moving left and right. We're going to see how that works. I'm going to put a couple of ifs here for the scrolling effect. So when key right arrow pressed, we're going to scroll right, and in the ground, it's gonna be something super simple. When green flag clicked, forever, we're going to set X to this X. And now, as you see, I can scroll, and here it stops. So let's make the same with scroll left. So let's make a block, run without screen refresh, scroll left. Let's put this somewhere here. Okay, so scroll left is going to be the same as scroll right, but with the opposite numbers. And if key left arrow pressed, scroll left. And that way we can easily scroll and move our Mario. Okay? It's interesting to put here set X to 0 when we start our game. And there we go, but there's one more problem, and this one is the problem. Okay? We don't have the replace effect when we are jumping. So let's make that final block, which is gonna be replace Y when we are going up, again without screen refresh. And basically this block is gonna work the following way, which I'm gonna put here, by the way. And it's going to do this. If we are jumping, so if our Y velocity is greater than 0, we're going to move our character downwards. So we're going to change Y by a negative number, and we're going to repeat this until we are not touching the dark green color anymore. And also we're going to set Y velocity to 0. And that's all. If there are no mistakes, no errors, oh, there's something wrong. Well, basically the solution was making it a little bit wider, okay? And finally, let's make the rest of the platform, because as you see, we have only one costume in the ground. So this platform, well, finishes quite fast. So to make the rest of the platform, let's go to ground, costumes, let's zoom out, and basically we're going to right click, duplicate. When you duplicate, we're going to keep the ground here, okay, at the same height, and we're gonna modify the rest of the things. For example, we can pass this here. We can make it higher. We can make another one. And let's make a third one, which will be, this one is gonna be flipped horizontal. Wait. It's better to use the arrow keys to make sure that the height of this is the same as the height of this, because if not, there will be like a difference in the height of each part. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, so now let's go to costume number 1, and now let's modify this a little bit. Now we have 3 costumes, so we have to work with clones. So this program is going to be completely different. When we click on the green flag, we're going to hide the original one, and we're going to create 3 costumes. So we will repeat 3 times this. We will begin with costume number 1, and we're going to create clone of myself and next costume 3 times. And when I start as a clone, I am going to show the costume, but I have to place each costume in the correct part. Costume number 1, this one, is gonna be here in X0, but costume number 2 and 3 have to be to the right, have to be 1 screen and 2 screens to the right. The width of the screen in Scratch is 480, so the formula we're going to use is this one. We are going to set X2, and look, we're going to multiply 480 by costume number minus 1. So in the case of costume number 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, multiplied by any number is 0. So costume number 1 will be in X0, so in the initial screen. Costume number 2, 2 minus 1 is 1, multiplied by this is 480, so costume number 2 will be 1 screen to the right. In the case of costume number 3, 3 minus 1 is 2, 2 multiplied by 480 is 960, so it will be 2 screens to the right. And all this formula is gonna be modified by the X. So let's take all this, and now let's pass everything in here, and you will see that now we have already created what we wanted, but it's impossible to get on this. So let's modify that costume a little bit. Oops, I forgot to take this. Okay, let's see if it's possible to jump now. Yes, it is. Okay. And probably you are thinking that everything is finished and working perfectly. And yes, we could think so. Well, now it's gonna be impossible to get back there. But there might be a problem that I'm gonna show you, and I'm gonna show you also the solution to that problem in case you coming across. Let's go to costume number 3 and imagine I make this as wide as this platform. Now, as you see, I already have this when I'm in the first costumes. How could I hide this in case I don't want it to be there anymore, but for some reason I need this as wide as the ground, which is not normally what you should do? Well, the solution would be the following. We're going to add a condition here, and we're going to say that the costume has to be shown, and if not, will be hidden. So it has to be shown only if all this is greater than and more or less is negative 500 and lower than 500. In some cases, you should modify these values a little bit. By doing this, you see that we don't see this costume when we are here because it hides. So that would be the solution in case you come across that problem, which is not as uncommon as you might think. But also the solution, as I told you, is make the ground longer than the rest of the platform. Alright, and finally, what we need is Super Mario instead of the hitbox. So in the case of the hitbox, I'm gonna scroll up. We're going to set Ghost Effect to 100 to make it invisible, and Mario Forever is going to go to hitbox. Obviously we're gonna show it, and also we're gonna set rotation style to left, right, and let's add a couple of conditions. If key right arrow pressed, he's going to point in this direction, and if left arrow pressed, point in the opposite. So doing this, well, we can move Mario, but now we need the movement of the legs. So let's create first of all the walk program running without screen refresh as well. And by going to costumes, we can easily see that there are 3 costumes for walking. Walk 1, 2, and 3. So walk is gonna be next costume, but if costume number is greater than 3, so if we go to costume number 4, straight away we will go to costume number 1 again. And now let's design this, which is gonna be, well, quite complicated. First of all, if any key pressed, so if key any pressed, if we are on the ground, so if I put an if else again, and I did an end. If I am touching, let's show this because I need it. Let's go back to Mario. If I am touching this color and the Y velocity equals 0, so I'm not jumping, in this case we're going to walk. If not, if there's any key pressed but we're not on the ground, it means that we're jumping. So we will switch costume to jump. Else, if we're not pressing any key, now we take an if else. If we are touching this color, means that we're on the ground, we are not pressing any key, so we're gonna switch costume to stand. But if we're not pressing any key and we are not touching green, we're also jumping. And with this, we have our Super Mario ready. You might think that he's moving the legs too fast, but that has a very easy solution. We're only going to add a weight block here, for example 0.05, and this tutorial is perfect. All the collisions are correct. We can move Mario on the platform, we can jump, we have the gravity effect created, and everything works as we expected at the beginning. And that's all, guys. This is the end of this first tutorial on this scrolling platformer. We have the basic things that we need to create that game. In the following tutorials I will make different enemies, I will make different levels, and well, basically the things that you require. So I will read your comments and feel free to interact with me, put it into practice, let me know if it works or not, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye, guys!